Yes, it is. We'll just get that out of the way right now. Expedition 33, Clair Obscur, or the... Well, I've said it the wrong way around, but whatever, okay. The... Yes, the short answer, yes, okay. It's just as good as everybody is making out, and it really is that good. But you need to know why, or at least discuss why with me, because I said so. If you don't want to, that's fine, but leave a like and subscribe, otherwise you're in my bad books. I'm coming for you. But the longer answer is that, Expedition 33 is, frankly, the best game I've played this year, and maybe of all time. And I'm going to put this into context and give you a bit of my backstory, because I want to see if you guys agree, disagree, what if you even think there's a bad part to this game. So let's rewind to a couple of months ago. The biggest mistake, I got hit up for like a review key for this, and I was like, I've never, this name sounds weird. It was like Persona-like gameplay, JRPG style. I've played the Persona games. I like them, but they get very samey, so they're not like my expert level wheelhouse. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, okay. Little French studio, never heard of. Passed on it. The biggest mistake of my life. But I didn't believe the hype. I very quickly gained traction. There was a lot of memes, and people were like, this is the game of the year, this is game of the year. And, people say that about everything, don't they? They say that every game out there is game of the year. So I just, was stuck into other games and just was, I made a resolution to myself to actually try to complete one game at a time, plus that I make all the other videos on this channel, so I don't have a lot of free time. And I thought, yeah, I'll just get it, maybe I'll get it in 6 months or something, and then the hype got unreal, to the point where I thought, something? I'm gonna give this a go, completely blind, no real idea, kind of new. When I started finding out about how, the story was, and how what Expedition. There's going to be no major spoilers in here. I will talk about things if you're playing the game. You'll either know what I'm talking about or you won't, and that's fine. I'm not going to spoil anything. As you find out, Expedition 33 is because, the expeditions get lower every year as people gommage and turn into these flower things and go boo. So when I heard that, I was thinking, you know what? That is actually a very, very interesting idea, and that is what hooked me. And I gave it a go, and was immediately within the first hour, just within the first few minutes, I was hooked in, first of all, by the game's writing, voice acting, and how dynamic it all is. The characters talk over each other, and it sounds like real humans, how real humans talk, instead of a lot of games would just be, too cookie cutter. That one person talks, then another person talks, then another person talks. And that is not how real-life conversations go, because half the people you're talking to, including myself, have some kind of freaky ADHD where you just talk over people and then you apologize, and then, that's reality, right? It's messy. And that I have not seen out of any game, including all of the best games I've ever played, have done conversation voice acting so well as Expedition 33. Then what got me was the story. As you progress and you prepare for this expedition, and then, when the expedition lands, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, the expedition happens, and then you kind of land where you're going, and all of that stuff happens. I was like, I am in. This is some next level stuff. And what is interesting, and it's kind of a combination of story and voice acting and writing, is that Expedition 33 has such a good balance between seriousness and comedy, lightheartedness. Later on when you meet SKA and some of the other characters, like the SKA's little friend who's a turtle, and Noko, there's real moments of levity and comedy, and it's fun and cute. It manages to hit every emotion, but without being too much. Like, the beginning is quite serious, right? Like, you talk before you set off on the expedition. You're talking to your old girlfriend, and that's quite heart-wrenching and stuff. And you kind of, the way it drip feeds you backstory, and then you kind of realize, and it hits you with the gut punch. And that beginning is quite serious, but not too serious, right? It doesn't go too far in making, it just doesn't give this tone of, I'm such a serious game, I want to teach you lots of things, like it's serious, but it doesn't bash you over the head with it. And then you get to these other moments where you meet some of these characters and they're funny and they genuinely make you laugh out loud. Or they're cute and they genuinely just make you go like, all fuzzy inside. And it's great because it is such a nice balance of all of those things. Like, it doesn't get all depressing when you're trying to play for like 40 hours, but it's not over the top with the comedy for that whole time. It's kind of this real perfect balance of all of that, and I think that is what contributes to why this is such a good game. Let's talk about combat, because again, the thing is, it's all perfect, but we'll go step by step. The combat, again, when people said it was like Persona, that's what I was worried about, because again, like I said, I like Persona, but I think Persona is too heavy on random enemy encounters when you're in dungeons and stuff, in the sense that it's the same enemy over and over for hours upon hours upon hours a lot of the time. And I think that's where that kind of falls down, and use the same sort of tactics. And Expedition does a great job in, you'll have like more mini bosses, bigger bosses, like actual huge bosses, small guys, but the types of enemy and their weaknesses will be different. And you can also build out your party. You have a reserve team, so you have a team that comes in if your main team dies, which I think is super cool, because it's just kind of like really lifelike, where you're like, and you can plan tactics around that, where you can have your main team can have a certain like affinity, like say, I'm gonna build them so they all deal fire damage, and then like you think, okay, if they get wiped out, my reserve team comes in. My reserve team I've built so they're more tanky, because like, if your reserve team's coming in, you don't want them to die. You want them to be able to tank out like the last of the enemy's health bar and stuff. And it just leaves so much strategy and interesting things open for gameplay, to the point where it's just not boring. It's just not boring. I'm pretty much at the end of the game, but haven't chosen to complete it yet. So that's, for context. And I'm still just not bored. I'm just not bored. It's just so great. Even when you go back to camp, and you can talk to the characters, and you have cutscenes, and it just does all of this far better than pretty much every other game ever created. And if every other game had this much polish and was this realistic in a lot of ways and got you attached to the characters, then we'd all be having a great time. I'm just so shocked that this has come from a pretty much little-known French studio. There was not huge buzzes of hype for years and years before this, like a lot of big games that are out there have, and then they end up being a disappointment. This just kind of landed, and everyone started going, this is Game of the Year, and I thought, come on, you guys, obviously, it's a case where, we all know that one person who plays like 2 games and then says how great it is, and they're like, yeah, but you played 2 games all year. And one of them was FIFA. Come on. I tried it. And then I told my friend to drop. He was playing the Oblivion remaster. Shout out to Kalen Thraz on YouTube. And he was like the same as me. He was saying, I'm going to try and complete one game at a time. And I stopped him. I was like, you need to come. You need to just play this game right now. And he's like, no, I'm going to play. I'm like, no, you need to play this game right now while everyone is playing this game. And then sure enough, he's like, just spent 12 hours straight playing the game. So this is all to say, is Expedition 33 really that good? And does it live up to the hype? And it's just a resounding yes. This is not a full review of the game or anything. We're just discussing it. I mean, we didn't even talk about map traversal. It's even got Metroidvania aspects where you unlock new abilities and you can go back and you can, then re-enter areas and fight people and pick things up and equip new. It's got like an open world traverse. It's so good, and the story itself is so good. It keeps you. It's perfectly paced to where you start finding out answers, and then it raises more questions. Instead of, recently I played Assassin's Creed Shadows and everything was backloaded. So you're like, oh, all the answers are 40 hours into the game. This is not. It's actually pretty much close to perfection. I mean, I would say, because I don't throw that around loosely, but I actually can't think of a game that I've played in the past few years where I've enjoyed so much. And just, there's not one bad thing to say about it. It gives me Nier Automata vibes, basically. Like, if you haven't played the game or played very little, it feels like that, where as you find out more about the world and you go back or you replay the game, you then understand far more about what is actually going on. And it's absolutely fascinating. It is. This is like the one time where you need to believe the hype like this. And let me know if you agree in the comments, because I would love to know if you actually don't like the game, or there's parts you don't like. Let me know, because I haven't heard anyone say that. But like, to say that there's any parts they don't like, and there's no, I'm not like throwing shade. So but let me know if you like the game as well, or what part is your favorite, because I think my favorite part is just how well the characters are performed and written, and like the cutscenes are always a joy. Like I do not get, if Metal Gear Solid 4's 2-hour ending cutscene was made by the people who made Expedition, that was a good cut. I quite like that cutscene anyway. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. If that was made by Expedition, it would be great. It'd be great as a movie. So yes, I think Expedition is 100% as good as people think, and the only thing that worries me about saying it's Game of the Year is that Death Stranding 2 is coming out very, very soon, which means, can it beat Kojima? Can this relatively small unknown team beat the Kojima man and Frank Bridges? Have I got that right? I've just gone crazy. Someone Porter Bridges. Why did I say Frank? Anyway, I've lost my mind. I need to go back and play Expedition right now, so I'll see you later.